In the small town of Brookside, high school students eagerly returned for another year of academic adventures. Among them was Alex Turner, a bright and introspective 17-year-old with a deep love for literature. As he walked through the familiar hallways of Brookside High, his thoughts were dominated by the anticipation of meeting his new English teacher, Mrs. Emily Carter. The new addition to the faculty had quickly gained a reputation for her innovative teaching methods and her passion for literature. Her arrival had stirred excitement and curiosity among the students. Alex, who had always found solace in the written word, was particularly intrigued. Chapter 2. A New Perspective. On the first day of class, Mrs. Carter's presence was magnetic. She spoke with a warmth and enthusiasm that was palpable, bringing literature to life with her insightful interpretations and engaging discussions. Alex found himself captivated, not just by the stories she shared but also by the kindness and understanding she exuded. Her ability to connect with each student made the classroom feel like a haven. As weeks went by, Alex became more drawn to Mrs. Carter. Her genuine interest in her students' lives and her encouragement of their individuality resonated deeply with him. He admired her dedication and the way she seemed to see potential in everyone, especially him. Chapter 3. Unspoken Feelings. The more Alex got to know Mrs. Carter, the more he found himself admiring her. He loved the way she spoke about her favorite authors, how she could make even the most mundane assignments feel exciting, and the way she took time to discuss each student's thoughts. It was a feeling that went beyond admiration. It was something he couldn't quite articulate, that knew was different from his usual regard for teachers. Despite his growing feelings, Alex was keenly aware of the boundaries that existed between a student and the teacher. His emotions were a tangled mix of admiration, affection, and confusion. He tried to focus on his studies, using his writing as a way to channel his feelings. Chapter 4. The Heart's Revelation. One evening, Alex stayed late at school to work on an essay. As he was leaving, he saw Mrs. Carter in her classroom, grading papers. She looked up and noticed him, inviting him to stay and discuss his essay. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, and Alex found himself sharing thoughts he hadn't planned to express. Mrs. Carter listened with genuine interest and offered thoughtful feedback. During their conversation, she revealed her own challenges and the reasons behind her passion for teaching. It was a moment of unexpected vulnerability that deepened Alex's admiration for her. Chapter 5. Crossing Paths. As the semester progressed, Alex and Mrs. Carter continued to interact frequently, though always within the professional limits. Alex's feelings grew stronger, but he kept them to himself, not wanting to jeopardize their relationship or create an uncomfortable situation. Mrs. Carter, perceptive as always, began to notice Alex's struggle. One afternoon, she approached him after class. "Alex," she said gently, "I've noticed you've been different lately. Is everything all right?" Alex hesitated, then decided to be honest. "I've been dealing with some personal feelings, and I'm not sure how to handle them." Mrs. Carter nodded, understanding. "It's important to acknowledge your feelings, but remember that it's okay to have boundaries and respect them. Sometimes, talking to a counselor can help." Chapter 6. The Lessons Beyond the Classroom. With Mrs. Carter's advice, Alex began to seek guidance from a school counselor. Through these sessions, he learned more about managing his emotions and respecting boundaries. His admiration for Mrs. Carter transformed into a deep respect for her as a person who had guided him through a challenging, emotional journey. As the school year drew to a close, Alex and Mrs. Carter maintained a respectful and professional relationship. Alex had grown as a person, understanding more about himself and the nature of his feelings. Mrs. Carter left a lasting impact on Alex, not just as a teacher, but as a role model who had shown him the importance of empathy, respect, and self-awareness. Epilogue. Echoes of the Heart. Years later, as Alex looked back on his high school experience, he remembered Mrs. Carter with fondness and gratitude. She had been a pivotal figure in his life, guiding him through a complex emotional landscape and helping him grow. The feelings he once had were now cherished memories, echoing it in his heart as a reminder of the power of genuine connection and the importance of respect in any relationship.